Hi guys, my name is V. I am the voice behind the camera in the videos that you guys usually see on this channel. I am joined here today by Kratos. Kratos. There you are. I'm man. As you guys may or may not know, Samara officially turned a year old last week. So I want to kind of do a video comparing my male and my female Dogo Mastiff at about a year of age. Just because they are vastly different than what I was expecting. I guess before I even start the list, I do want to mention that all your dogs are going to be different. So my experience with my Dogo Mastiff isn't going to match with anybody else's experience. So essentially, don't base what I went through on whether or not you should get a male or female Dogo Mastiff. So these are none in no particular order. This is just a list of things that I wrote down. Feel free if I missed something that you guys want to hear about, please ask me in the comments and maybe I'll do another video like this in the future. The first thing I want to talk about is potty training. So my experience with both Kratos and Samara are very similar in their potty training, into which I struggled greatly with their potty training to the point where they weren't completely potty trained until about 5 to 6 months in age, which is a long time. And just to compare, you guys have seen my pitty. She's a bit older than Kratos. She was potty trained at 3 months, so which is pretty standard, right? But with my Dogos, it took a lot longer for them to get potty trained. Now, I will say that both of my Dogos, they came from breeders who had their Dogos outside, which can also make it a little bit harder for you to potty train your dog, because puppies who are, outside in a kennel or whatever they're in, they are used to peeing, sleeping, and eating in the same area. So sometimes it's kind of hard to break that. But I just really didn't expect it to take until they were 5 to 6 months old for me to get them completely potty trained. To kind of lay out the story, it's important for you guys to know that I crate train my dog. So from the moment they are here, they are crate trained, in which they eat and sleep in their crates. And if I can't watch them, they're in their crate, right? They're in their crate with something to do, whatever. They're in their crates a lot, right? For the crate training process. And crate training for me is really important with potty training, because the ideal is a puppy's not going to want to potty on themselves and potty in this place that they have to lay, right? So ideally, crates make it easier to potty train. Crates were not new to my dogs, but for those, months that I had them before they're potty trained, very often, I'd be in a meeting for like an hour and a half, and or I would have a meeting that would go from an hour to an hour and a half long. I would take the dogs out right before my meeting. I'm talking about minutes before my meeting, make sure they went out, peed, pooped, then I put them in their crate. And in that hour to hour and a half, a lot of times they would potty on themselves again. It didn't happen all the time, but it happened until they're 5 or 6 months of age, which is a long time to be potty training a dog. So that's the one thing that was very similar with both of them. Like I mentioned, their bladder health was very good. They had nothing wrong with their bladder, but it's just something that I dealt with them with potty training. So not sure if anybody else has the same experience, but that's been my experience with my 2 dogs. So just something I wanted to kind of mention off the top. Well, the next thing I want to talk about is their possessiveness. Right, so Kratos was the first dog that I got, the first Dogo that I got, and he was not possessive over a thing, which is surprising to me, because I was under the assumption that my male was going to be the hardest dog that I would have to deal with. But just a disclaimer, Kratos has been really easy in some senses. Really easy to the point where, while there's some things that Samara's better at, Kratos is kind of still my better Dogo, in the sense that he was just the easiest, right? And Samara's a bit more difficult. But yeah, Kratos had no aggression, and usually puppies kind of have a little aggression, a little food aggression, a little, possessiveness, where they're trying to establish themselves as like, hey, I'm the boss around here. I'm new, but I'm going to take things over. And so it's usual for puppies to kind of show that as puppies, and you have to correct that, right? Didn't have to do that with Kratos. And to this day, I don't have to do that with Kratos. Kratos has never growled at me for anything. If you guys haven't heard me say this, the reason I got Samara is because I had such an easy time with Kratos. I'm like, oh, Dogos are easy. I can just get another one. This females are going to be a lot easier. And that's just not my case. Samara's definitely been my hardest Dogo yet. I mean, she's not terrible, but she's just more of what I was expecting before I got a Dogo. And Kratos is he's real easy, real chill. Not necessarily perfect by any means, but he's a good dog. He's a really easy dog. Anyway, so Kratos, no issues. Samara had food aggression issues. And we were able to work through that. You know, she was better than my pit. My pit bull has and she always has. My pit bull is just super uncomfortable with anybody near her food. And she's been like that since she was younger. But Samara also had a bit of food aggression. I don't know if you guys remember the videos that I did that I had with her, you know, kind of struggling through that with food aggression. She would just growl, you know, nothing like she was snapping or anything like that. But, you know, we worked through it, and now she's okay with me touching her while she eats, which is super important. So the next topic I want to talk about is training. Training is different for both of them. That I know that both of my dogs can hear to some extent. Now, I don't know what extent that is. We haven't done bear testing yet, but I know my dogs can hear to some extent. But as puppies, both of them, when you first get them, you might question that because your Dogo, and I don't know, this is just my experience, of course, so this might be different for you guys, but both my male and my female, as puppies, they will hear your voice and ignore you. If they want to do something, they're going to do it. So with training, it was really important from the beginning to teach them that, hey, when you hear my voice, you respond to it, right? If I tell you not to do something, you don't do it. You don't do it anyway, right? With my dogs, with my Dogos, I had to kind of teach them my voice affliction. So if I, you know, like if I, you know, go deep and I'm fussing at them, that means, hey, stop what you're doing and listen, right? And if I'm go high and whatever, you know, get excited or whatever, I had to teach that to them because they would just ignore literally everything. And so, which that's taught with potty training, of course. That's the first thing you really teach your dog, potty training. So you get really excited when they potty train. And then, of course, if they're chewing on something they're not supposed to, you fuss at them and you remove the items. You know, you do different things. But that was definitely something taught. So the thing about any working dogs have to be intelligent and they have to be stubborn, right? For whatever job that they have to do, they have to be intelligent and stubborn to an extent, right? Same thing with the Dogo Archie Mastiff. You don't want a Dogo Archie Mastiff that goes all, you know, that you're hunting with and that, you know, the boar or whatever they, you know, they're working with kind of throws them off. And I'm like, dang, you threw me off? Okay, I guess I'll stop now. You don't want that in a working dog. A working dog is supposed to be kind of tenacious, right? They're supposed to do their job no matter what, right? Also, working dogs are super intelligent. They have to be this way because there's going to be a lot of situations to where the dog is not with their owner and they have to make their own decisions, right? So when you send a Dogo off into the brush to catch a boar, or you send, you know, a police dog or a military dog off to catch a criminal, like there's going to be many times when they're going to be away from their owner and they have to make a decision. So you want your dog to be intelligent, which is great for a working dog. However, that intelligence and stubbornness can really hinder teaching your dogs how to behave, right? So behavior, different from obedience. Obedience is sit down, stay, all the other great stuff. Obedience is just how they should behave in certain situations, right? So as an example, as you guys will know in a couple of seconds, if you guys didn't know before, I have a no play rule in my house. There is no play in my house at all. But for a dog, it's really hard for them to understand that, okay, when I cross the threshold, I can no longer play anymore with this other dog that's still next to me and I can get to. You know, once I'm inside the house or inside this area, I can't play with you anymore. We can hang out, but we can't play. So anyway, so it took a lot of time for me to work with Kratos and be like, hey, no, don't play. To where he actually got like, okay, we don't play in the house. Cool, right? With Samara, very similar situation, but her obedience took a little bit longer. And only for one reason. And it's only with things that take duration. Samara is very impulsive, which is normal for a puppy, but she's been impulsive longer than Kratos where she does before she thinks. Once Kratos knew what stay was, I did have to do duration with him. I just had to do less duration with him than I had to do with Samara. Samara, we're still working on it. And to the point where, you know, I can't really put her in a sit, stay, and leave her like I can with Kratos, or a downstay and leave her because she's going to get up and walk off. So, and she's a year old, right? So it definitely, Kratos was at that level probably around like 8 months. Also another story that I've never told that also just shows how impulsive she is, and how it differs from Kratos. So it had to be sent work class because they were both in the car with me. We were leaving a class. And it was a warmer day outside, so I let the windows down, right? Y'all know gas prices are high. I'm not trying to run my air in the car, so I let the windows down. And I always let the windows down in the back enough for the dogs to put their head out, right? Because that's what dogs love to do. They love to stick their head out the window. My dogs are no different. So what I typically do, I roll down the windows and I put the child lock on. And I have to roll down windows before I put the child lock on because I can't move the windows with it on. So I have to undo it, roll the windows down, and then ideally I lock it back up, right? However, when I got in the car after class and rolled the windows down for them, I forgot to put the child lock on and I took off. And essentially what happened is that somehow, I think it might have been Samara because Kratos is tall enough to look, to have his head out the window without stepping up on anything, and Samara isn't really. So I think it's Samara, but of course I don't really know. But one of the dogs apparently had stepped on the button and rolled the windows all the way down. I rolled one window all the way down. I make a point when I roll down the windows to check and make sure that it's just low enough for them to put their head through. I was leaving the facility, went to a light, and turned, and wasn't going to speed limit yet, thank God. But all of a sudden I heard a thump and a yelp. And so Kratos and Samara, sometimes they play. Actually, any of my dogs, so they're in the back together, sometimes they play. And it's usually not after class, they're usually too tired, but I thought they were out there playing in the back. So I look back and look back to see what the heck's going on. I'm already fussing, like, what the heck are you guys doing? I look back, and I see Samara in my side mirror in the middle of the street. Now, thank the Lord that I was not going to speed limit. Because I said I just turned, so we were stopped at the light. We just turned, so I wasn't going to speed limit yet. And then I don't know if I said one or two. Next thing that was good was that there was nobody behind me because she would have got hit. Samara had jumped out the window, so somehow like I said, I didn't put the child lock on, which is the first thing. But like I said, I think it was Samara, but the button got pushed, the window rolled all the way down. I did not hear it, and Samara, not thinking, jumped out the car. And I didn't even know that's how she got the car until I was already out the car trying to get her, because I turned back and Kratos has he didn't jump out the car. Thank goodness, he has enough common sense. But I turn and I look and see Kratos just all the way out the window, when the window was all the way down. So I'm yelling at him to stay. I'm trying to tell the other cars to go ahead because Samara's a heavy dog. She's not really big yet. But she's a pretty thick girl, so I couldn't really carry her. Then I made a vet appointment, and took her to the vet, but she was fine. She was totally fine. No lasting injuries, according to the vet. We'll see when we do some hip testing later. But, according to the vet, she's healthy, just scared her, and she's fine. Now, I will say that she doesn't stick her head out the window anymore, but I mentioned this story because she saw it opening. She immediately took it. No thought behind it. She immediately took it. And then at this point, she was probably 10 months old. And then with Kratos, he was older at this point, of course, but Kratos has never been the type just to do things. He is a thinker. He thinks about things beforehand. Samara is not like that. She's impulsive. She does things before she thinks. And to an extent, that's normal for a puppy to do, but Samara is kind of past the age where I would expect that from her. And just to actually add to that, Kratos, he was sleeping outside of a crate, at night. So when I'm asleep, him outside as well. He was sleeping outside a crate probably around 8 to 9 months. And Samara still does not have that privilege because she does too much. Can't really trust her in the house without my supervision still, because she's impulsive. She gets into trouble. Kratos here, who sleep. Oh, my baby boy. He's, like I said, he's been allowed to sleep outside the house since he was 8 to 9 months old. He's done really well with that. And he's not to the maturity yet where I can trust him inside the house when I'm not in the house. Jack's there, my Pitty, she's there. Kratos, not so much. But, essentially he can be in the house at any time, and even if I'm busy, I can trust that nothing's going to get destroyed with him in there, right? Because he kind of matured in that sense a lot quicker than Samara has, which was surprising to me because I was under the assumption that females mature quicker than males, and that's just not been my experience with my two Dogos. Talking about their energy, one of the things that I heard before I got my Dogos is that you have to work your Dogos a lot or they're going to get into trouble. And that's kind of been my experience. Now, I will say that during the week, we typically do a lot. Samara has training on Mondays. Samara and Kratos have training on Tuesdays. I go volunteer on Wednesdays, so none of my dogs go. At least not this session. None of my dogs go with me on Wednesdays. Thursday, Kratos has a rally and confirmation training. And then Saturdays, Kratos has agility, right? So my dogs typically do a lot during the week. I also try to have them run and play with Jack. Jack has plenty of energy for both the dogs. And Jack is great for them to play with because she definitely tires them out. So they do a lot. So, when I say it's not my experience, it might just be because we do a lot of training during the week, where there's a lot of things going on. So they're never necessarily just sitting in one place doing nothing for a long time. But my experience has been that if I don't do anything for a day, Kratos will do this. I didn't expect that. I really thought that I would have to work them all the dang time for me to get this, but I don't. Like, literally, Kratos has only played for like 10 minutes a day, and this is him right now. Kratos comes from hunting lions specifically. He can pace himself for a longer time. With Samara right now, it's just really all she has spurts of energy. She tires out pretty quickly. So the next topic I want to talk about is just their protection drive. And this kind of ties into their temperament a little bit. I mean, for sure it does. It's protection. So with Kratos, I thought he had a really weak temperament for a long time because he didn't just upright approach different things. He was kind of wary of things at first. And even people, like, he'll say hi to somebody, but just like sniff, sniff, sniff. Okay, you touched me once. Okay, bye. Right? He wasn't really trying to get a lot of love and whatever. And so I had thought that he was just had a weak temperament, and he was kind of fearful, but Kratos is not fearful. He's aloof, which is actually pretty standard for male Dogo or male working dogs in general, but Dorothy Mastiff, males tend to be aloof to everyone but their owners, or their family. And that's just what he is. Now, that's the case for everything except if a man walks into this house. If you got balls and you walk into this house, Kratos isn't down for you. Outside on the streets, he's fine. Cool. He'll say hi. But you cannot have balls inside this house unless they're his. So unfortunately, that's just what it is. So if I have anybody come over to the house that, is a male, I had to put him up because he's just not going to deal with it. And Samara, in another situation, in another case, she's more friendly to other people. I say friendly to other dogs. In the sense that Samara just wants to play with everybody. And this has changed recently, like real recently. Like in this last month, it's changed. But for the longest time, she just wanted to play with everybody. Samara wants to cuddle with you. As at her year mark, that's changed, in which she kind of she sniffs and she gets pets, and she likes pets still. She likes them more than Kratos, but she's not like, oh, let me lean against you and get love, right? And then even with other dogs, I recently had a barbecue with a friend that I took Samara with because she hadn't been to the park. And there is somebody walking with a 7-month-old dog de Bordeaux, and I said that right. And Samara, who usually wants to play with every dog, decided that she didn't like this dog close, and she kind of went off the dog and kind of tagged him a little bit and chased him off and was watching him while he walked away, right? And not like, oh, let me fight you. She's like, hey, your space. It was very clearly, hey, this is my area, back off. It wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna keep going after you and I'm gonna attack you. She's like, hey, back up, right? Which is really surprising. That's the first time she's ever done that. Otherwise, she's just trying to play with everybody, right? So that's just at the year mark. She's kind of turning more into like a protector. But beforehand, she was loving everyone. Now, I will also say that Samara, while she was loving everyone, she's never really liked the sound of other dogs. Like if I play a sound of another dog on TV, or And that's really if she's independent. If she's independent, I'm you know, using the TV, and she hears another dog or she hears another voice, and it's not even all voices. It's really weird. But sometimes she's like, "Oh, that's in the house. I don't like that." She'll start barking, and then she won't stop barking because she's stubborn. And I gotta get up in her face and be like, "Excuse you, I said hush." But anyway, sometimes she'll bark and stuff like that. You know, in those situations, and I never had to deal with that with Kratos barking at things at the TV. He doesn't care. So she's always had that protector in her, but now she's kind of growing into herself, right? At a year old, so it took a while, but she's finally kind of in the protector role. I will also say that Kratos has never been the most cuddly. Like, he loves getting love from me, but also his love is very like, okay, let me get pets, let me get scratches. Okay, I love you. All right, I'm gonna lay down. Bye. In which is Samara and Jack. My females, they would literally lay on top of me and cuddle me and sleep with me, if I let them. Or I mean, if it's on the couch, sometimes I let them. But what Kratos is doing here, if I was on the couch with him, he'd be like, oh, dang, there's no room for me up here. You take up too much space. Bye. And he would be gone. He doesn't cuddle with me. he loves get scratched. He loves get love. Kratos likes getting love all the time. As far as cuddles go, he's not really for it. So at least not long time snuggles. Like I said, the girls will take a nap with me on the couch. Kratos, not so much. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is prey drive. So, as I possibly mentioned in this video, unless I cut it out, Kratos comes from a hunter. Like, he actively hunts with his dogos. They're in Arkansas, but they also go out and hunt actively with their dogs, boar. Samara, pet. Samara came from a family. You know, their dogos were just basically protectors of their house. So not so much working dogs as what they went out and did a job. And they had a job, of course. They protect their home, but you know, for the purpose of the dogo, for the purpose of a dogo of hunting, you know, boar, Samara's didn't come from lines that did that, right? Or at least her parents didn't do that. So I was expecting that Kratos would be super bad with my Chihuahua. So for you guys who don't know, I used to have a Chihuahua. He actually passed away about a month ago, a little less than a month ago, but he passed away really recently. But I had a Chihuahua here. His name was Paco. He was with me for a very long time. And he passed away this year. So he was 12. So he was about 10 when I got my dogos, right? You know, in that range. So the thing with Paco is he wasn't interested in playing with these dogs. He's also not a dominant Chihuahua, right? You kind of probably have heard the Chihuahuas or seen the Chihuahuas that are trying to bully the bigger dogs. Paco was not like that. He's very submissive. I don't know, very submissive. He wouldn't roll on his back for anyone, but he would avoid the other dogs, right? And so, which was kind of easy for me because when I brought my dogs into the house, all of my bigger ones, Jack, who's my pitty, my 2 dogos, it was easy for me to teach him just to leave him alone, instead of worrying about Paco trying to interact with them, like, you know, Paco trying to take their food or take their spot. Like, luckily Paco stayed out of those situations. He didn't want any part of it. He was fine living with the dogs without trying to assert himself anyway, which was really lucky for me. But what I ended up doing is, you know, my goal, what I do with all my dogs is teach them that, hey, you leave Paco alone. You don't play with him. He's not a toy. You know, that's it. And I will say that out of my dogos anyway, Kratos, who comes from hunting lines, who I thought was going to have the most problems with, accepted that real quick and was just really chill with Paco. Now, there was like 2 other situations to where Paco, like Kratos was laying next to me. Paco came up to see me, and which he does all the time. Like, that's a situation that's common. But there was 2 situations where the position was that Paco, you know, put his paws on my chair, which is kind of like getting up next to me when Kratos was underneath him as well. And Kratos took that the wrong way, so I had to correct, and so Kratos tried to correct Paco, and I had to correct Kratos therefore. But like I said, Paco was never hurt. It was literally all vocal from Kratos' standpoint. Just him not accepting another male standing over him, which is fine. But, you know, I had to correct him, like, look, that was not the situation. Paco was not trying to dominate you. Chill, right? But otherwise, like, Paco and Kratos could be in the living room together, you know, me passing out food or whatever, and everybody's fine. They can live, they can exist together. You know, nobody's, you know, trying to do anything, trying to fight or whatever. You know, Paco can walk around them. They'll just watch and walk around, and, you know, it's fine. You know, that was the goal, right? And that was, you know, perfect for, you know, for my situation. Samara's a bit different. Now, Samara, like I said, doesn't come from hunting lines, but her prey drive is different when it came to Paco anyway. So, teaching her to leave Paco alone was fine, but she always, and this comes back to her impulsiveness. If Paco's outside with her, she's like, it's the start of a chase, and then she understands like, okay, I can't chase you, so let me go off and do something else, right? And she always does that, and she always just super kind of more interested in Paco than I wanted her to be with actual animals. Samara, like wildlife. So I'm talking about birds, squirrels, and rabbits. Samara will not chase those. Kratos will. Kratos has a hard time not chasing anything like that. So, which was pretty cool. I actually, I can't even explain it because like I said, in puppy class, Kratos was really good. Like he was the biggest dog in puppy class because he went in puppy class a little older. He's like around 6 months of age when he went in puppy class. Other puppies were probably like, you know, they were kind of 4 months old, so they were tinier. He was also just the biggest dog in general, just in breed. But in puppy class, he wouldn't, like, all the dogs were smaller than him, and he did not try to chase any of the dogs. He just kind of observed them. I will say that Samara didn't really try to chase any dogs. Samara liked being chased in puppy class. But anyway, the point is that with wildlife, Kratos has to chase them. With other small dogs, he's okay with. Which, you know what? I can't make logic of it. Maybe it's a whole pack thing. I don't know if I can say that because, like I said, the puppies in puppy class weren't part of his pack. But, you know, he was really good with Paco. Not so much with He's not so much with wildlife. And Samara was less good with Paco and doesn't touch wildlife. So, doesn't even try to chase. She just watches. So, I don't know what to make of it, but that's the situation. So, sorry. Also know on prey drive, I can throw a ball and Kratos will chase it. He won't necessarily bring it back all the time, but he'll chase it. He'll go get it, whatever. Samara does not chase balls. Samara's never gotten into the whole chase a ball thing. So that's also something with prey drive that can't necessarily make sense of, but that's where Samara is. 2 more things. The next thing I want to talk about is drool. So my dogos do drool. Actually, all my dogs currently drool. The number one situation for my dogs to drool is food. I do leadership exercises with my dogs all the time. One of the things that we do daily is with their meal, I put it in front of them and they have to wait until I release them to eat. So they are looking at, and I don't let them eat if they're looking at their food and not me. So they basically sit there and watch me and drooling while, while they're waiting for their food. Another situation when they tend to drool a lot is right after they drink water. And it's not necessarily, it's drool, but it's also just water. And it just drips from their jaws. All right, so last but not least is shedding. So dogos do shed. Let me put that out there. However, Kratos sheds a lot less than Samara. A lot less. Now, I have videos on YouTube that, shows the difference in shedding. So please feel free to look up that. But, so Kratos, I have a de-shedder for short hair dogs. And Kratos, if I run that across his back, is going to be empty all through the year, essentially. Not that he doesn't shed, but he's just not losing a ton of fur. Samara has a thick coat. Still short hair, but her coat is thick, and she sheds heavily twice a year. That does it all for this video. If I missed anything that you want me to talk about, please let me know in the comments below. If you guys want me to continue doing videos like this, please like this video. I'm going to try to do a video where you guys see my face at least once a month. But if you guys really like these videos, maybe I can make that happen a little bit more. So yeah, guys, that'll be it for the video today. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.